Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I'm going to be recommending you some sci-fi books. So not too long ago I asked you guys what you wanted to see more of on my channel and you asked for recommendations videos, and I'm always a little bit nervous recommending books to people because what I love isn't necessarily going to be what you guys love. But I decided to do a sci-fi recommendations video because I'm really into sci-fi at the moment and I wanted to share with you some of the amazing books that I've been reading. I have 5 books to share with you today, which is surprisingly the majority of the sci-fi I've ever read, which is crazy because I really love it. There will most definitely be a follow-up video to this at some point because there are at least 3 well-known, well-loved sci-fi series on my bookshelves that I haven't read yet, and I will probably want to be recommending those to you. I've managed to get a pretty well-balanced selection of sci-fi as well. We have some young adult, some adult, some different formats, some standalones, some series, and I hope you guys all love these books as much as I do. So we'll start with the young adult, and the first book I have to recommend is a standalone, and that is The Host by Stephenie Meyer, which is much better than Twilight. This is a pretty classic sci-fi storyline. It draws on the 1960s film The Body Snatchers, if any of you guys have seen that. But essentially, aliens come to Earth and they start to take over human bodies because they want to live on Earth and they don't want humans to. So essentially, our main character Melanie becomes a host for one of these alien beings. However, Melanie is still conscious inside her own mind and she coexists with the alien body that has come to Earth to possess her. You go from there. There's a really great romance. There's like a love square as the 2 personalities of Melanie encounter 2 different individuals. And this is really emotional. It's surprising when you read this that it comes from the same author of Twilight, even though they were written at about the same time. I really wish that she had turned this into a series because this is a world that I really loved and wanted to see more from. I haven't read this for quite some time, but I know Julie from over at Pages and Pens reread it recently and said that it's pretty much still as good as it was the first time that she read it. So I think that this one pretty much stands up to the test of time and is still a good standalone young adult sci-fi novel to this day. Then we have a young adult sci-fi series, and that is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I really enjoy this series, not only because it is sci-fi, but also because it is inspired by various fairy tales. The first book in this series follows Cinder, who is part cyborg, and she lives in New Beijing, which is the New World's China. In this civilization, there is another sort of country that lives on the moon, and they have a very tenuous peace with Earth, and it is about the political climate between Earth and the moon, and the Queen of the Moon is one of the best villains I've ever encountered. The storyline for this series is very complex for a YA. I didn't expect a lot going into it, but I turned out to really love it. The first book follows Cinder, who is Cinderella. The second book is Scarlet, which is Red Riding Hood. The third book is Rapunzel, and the fourth one is Snow White. There's also a really cool android in this that I love. There's lots of space adventures. There's very different dynamics between all of the characters, and I love to see how the 4 books with 4 different main characters all merge together. If you really love this series, there is also a novella, which is an origin story for the evil queen, which I absolutely love. It could be my favourite part of this series. And then there's also a bind-up of novellas, so you have plenty of content if you love this sci-fi world. I really want to reread this soon because I loved it so much, but like the details are getting murky, so I'm hoping I can pick this up for a reread sometime soon as well. Then moving on to my adult recommendations. The first one is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Now, I recommend this with the side note that this is not for everyone, and I accept that. This is a 3-book trilogy called the Southern Reach trilogy, and you can either go 2 ways with it. You can either read Annihilation and leave it as a standalone. You won't know why anything has happened, but it does do pretty well on its own as a standalone novel. Or you can read the entire trilogy, which will delve into more of the reasons why things happen in this world. So this follows an expedition that goes into this area called Area X. And Area X is this place with like a border around it where really strange things happen inside. A government facility has been set up just outside the border of Area X called the Southern Reach, and they are tasked with trying to find out why the weird stuff inside Area X is happening. The first book focuses on a member of the expedition. The second book focuses on a member of the government facility of the Southern Reach. And the third book ties all the perspectives together, including a few new ones that you haven't had before. So like I said, you can read the first book on its own, or you can go in for the full trilogy. But the thing that people don't really like about this is that nothing is answered, and also the writing style is very distinct. The first one reads like an expedition journal, so it's very like cold and analytical. The second one is just a slog. A lot of mundane things happen. It focuses on politics in between the government facility. And then the third one is jumping between perspectives. So it is a very particular taste to enjoy this book. However, I was just so addicted to it, I couldn't stop reading because I just needed to know what was going to happen next. Another one that I've read recently and absolutely adore is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a virtual reality gaming sci-fi, and this, as you all probably know, centers on Wade Watts, who lives in this dystopian world where everybody heads into this online virtual reality called the Oasis to live their lives because the real world is just so awful. The creator of the virtual world, James Halliday, has left Easter eggs throughout his world, and the people who uncover and solve these Easter eggs will inherit his fortune and control of the entire Oasis. If you have watched the movie to this, the book is very different, so I would say that you can enjoy both. What I really loved about this is it has a lot of aspects of gaming in it, like the grinding for gears and the Easter eggs and the weird, elaborate, imaginative locations. There's also a great sense of friendship throughout this book. I liked the interaction between all of the characters. It felt very realistic and it was just really fun. There's also a lot of 80s pop culture hidden in this, so if that's something that you can pick out, like I managed to get some of it, not all of it because I was born in the 90s, but I could pick some of that out and really enjoy that. It mentions that there is a whole planet in the Oasis that's dedicated to the Whedonverse, so Buffy and stuff, which I really appreciated. When I was reading this, I just felt that I wanted to keep getting more from it, like I was skimming ahead of the pages faster than my brain could actually process what I was reading, and it was just super addictive and really fun, and I really loved it. And then last up, we have a graphic novel series that you're probably all expecting, and that is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is a sci-fi graphic novel series that follows two aliens from two different planets who fall in love and make a baby. The governments from their respective planets don't appreciate this and so send mercenaries after them because they want to keep the populace of their planets recognising the other planet as an enemy, and the fact that these two have fallen in love sort of accentuates the fact that you don't have to be enemies just because somebody told you had to be. This is emotional. It is very moving. It's very action-packed. It's also very morally grey because obviously you support the main characters, but you also follow the perspectives of the mercenaries that are sent after them. So you see their points of view, you identify with them, and when everybody comes together and clashes, you're not really sure which side you're supposed to be supporting. I'll have to admit, I didn't expect to like this when I read it. I tried graphic novels before, wasn't really a fan, didn't understand the hype, but as soon as I picked up this, I was hooked and quickly read through the rest of the published volumes. There are 8 published volumes so far, so plenty for you to sink your teeth into, and the 9th one is out in October. If this sounds like something that's up your alley, then please check it out. I'm one of those people who completely agrees that like graphic novels seem really expensive for the amount of time you actually invest into them, but I promise you, you will not be disappointed with this. It is so good. So that is all I have to recommend to you today. Please let me know if you've read any of these. I'm also willing to take sci-fi recommendations, especially anything that's like Annihilation, which follows like potential environmental or extraterrestrial threats. If you have any science fiction recommendations for me, then please let me know, because what I've discovered very recently is I love science fiction and I have read nowhere near enough of it. But please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box below, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.